Okay guys, so for this station we're going to be reviewing phrases and clauses. The biggest thing to really remember about our phrases and clauses is to just figure out what the difference is between them. I think that's probably our weakest area, is just being aware of the differences. So, a phrase is going to be a group of words without a subject and a verb. So that means there's no person or there's no verb with it. Now you might see one isolated on its own, so you might see just a subject or just a verb. However, if you don't see both of them together, like a person doing something, then it will not be considered a phrase. Okay? So taking a look at our example here, on the table, to buy the car, had slept, my neighbor. Each of these examples are not going to be any kind of clause because we don't have a subject and a verb together. On the table. This is missing both a subject and a verb. To buy the car. I now have a verb, buy, however I don't know who is buying the car, therefore it's still a phrase. Had slept. Same thing. I have two verbs, had and slept, however I don't have a subject. And then the last one, my neighbor, like for in a positive, for example, I don't have a verb telling me what my neighbor is doing, therefore it's a phrase. Now we have four different types. We have the infinitive phrase, the verb phrase, the appositive phrase, and the prepositional phrase. When we talk about the infinitive phrase, we're talking about the word to plus a verb and any words that are relating to it. So for example, he likes to read books. So as you're looking at this, for example, you can see to read books. I have my word to, I have my verb read, and then any word that relates back to it, which in this case is the word books. For a verb phrase, I have a helping verb and an action verb. Pretty much just think of two verbs in a row, okay? What I want you to consider with this is when you're going through and doing the activities on your worksheet, you may want to get your notes out so that you can refer to your helping verb list. That way you can find them easily. I think that's also another weakness, is that we've forgotten the words that we've memorized. So we aren't sure what the helping verbs are. We're not sure which ones are the linking verbs, okay? So a verb phrase is going to be an action verb and a helping verb together. Your example, she was singing nicely. So was is a helping verb and singing is an action verb. Okay, so together, that's my verb phrase. Pretty simple once you know what you're looking for. My appositive phrase is going to rename the noun beside it. So Finn, my dog, is small. So my dog is my appositive because it's giving me more information or renaming Finn. So that's all I would highlight, just the part that's contained between the commas. And then my prepositional phrase. I think we should be most familiar with this example and this type, but just in case we've forgotten, it's a preposition plus a modifier plus the object of the preposition. My example, I left my keys on the side of the table. So on is a preposition, and then the side of the table is going to be the remainder of it. The side is a modifier, table is the noun or the object of the preposition. If you're struggling with remembering your prepositional phrases, please use your notes to help and assist you with this activity. Now, changing gears to clauses. Now, clauses have a subject, she, and a verb, left. She and a verb, loves. So, subject and a verb together. And you can see that I've kind of color-coded them. So all my subjects are red, all my verbs are blue. Now, if I don't have a subject and a verb, then it's going to be a phrase. It's not going to be a clause. We have two types when we're talking about independent and dependent clauses. The first one is going to have to do with independent clauses, and this is a subject plus a verb creating a complete idea. Okay, so my example is, she loved the song. So you can see I just have a subject, and then I have my verb, complete idea. Now your dependent, on the other hand, has a subordinating conjunction. Okay, so that's an awubis. So you can see here I have an awubis since plus a subject, she, plus a verb, loved. Since she loved the song. It's incomplete though. Having this extra word, since, my awubis, it really kind of throws off the whole clause. So I'm left wanting to know what happened since she loves the song. Okay, so that's a dependent. Make sure you look out for that awubis. Let's do a couple together. You don't have to write anything for this, but I just want you to take a look. My dog sat on my lap. on my lap. Think in your mind, what type is this going to be? Is it a phrase or is it a clause? Hopefully you said that this was a phrase. If we dig a little deeper, we can tell that this is a prepositional phrase, on my lap. The next one is, while she smiled, I took a picture. So while is going to be in a woobus, she is a subject, smiled is a verb, therefore I know that this has to be a clause, and because of this word here, the woobus, I know that this has to be a dependent clause. For the next one, I wanted to say sorry. To say sorry. I see the word to. I notice that I do not have a subject, even though I do have a verb. So I know right away that this is a phrase. To plus a verb is an infinitive. With sorry included, that's an infinitive phrase. Next, I went next door. So I is my subject, went is my verb, and then next door is my complete idea with it. And then last, for number 5, I got a good grade since I studied. Looking at this, I see right away that I have a subject and I have a verb, so I know this is a clause. However, I notice that I have this extra word up front, this subordinate conjunction, this woobus, since. Therefore, I know this has to be a dependent clause. Alright, let's take a look at your notes. At this time, you want to make sure that you have a highlighter. On your sheet, I think yours is labeled a little differently than mine up here, and that's okay. So what you want to do is on your sheet, go through and start highlighting according to our key. Okay? So if you're looking here, you're going to read the passage. You need 4 different colored highlighters, and I'll change this to make it match as well. So it looks like I have blue for the first one. This one should be yellow. So I'll change that to yellow. This one should be green. So I only flip-flop those 2, I think. Okay, so in a lonely town, a young boy wanted to become the first person to watch Netflix for a solid month straight without leaving his spot except for the necessities. He had begged and begged his parents to let him stay home from school to begin his challenge, but his parents, Ted and Nancy, continued to tell their son that he had to focus on school. The young boy, Marvin, knowing that his parents would never allow him to take a month off of school, decided to wait until summer. Finally, Marvin had waited until the school year had ended. It was a beautiful day in June when Marvin decided to attempt his dream. He was wearing his lucky socks and had just turned on his TV to watch an episode of Shark Tank when suddenly the screen went blank and smoke began billowing out of the TV. So, we're going to take our blue highlighter first. So we're going to take the blue one. We're looking for prepositional phrases. So remember, if you're not sure what a prepositional phrase is, pull out your notes, look at that cheat sheet so that you can go through and easily identify these, okay? So, as I'm looking, I can tell that in a lonely town, that's going to be 1. That's a prepositional phrase. A boy wanted to become the first person to watch Netflix. So I know to is a preposition. However, I also know that to plus a verb is an infinitive phrase. So I'm going to leave that be for now. And also make sure that you're following along and highlighting as I'm going through this. Okay? For a solid month straight. So I'm going to highlight for a solid month. So hopefully we have our blue highlighter out and you're highlighting with me. Without leaving his spot except for the necessities. Now a lot of times when you see this without, you're going to want to say, oh, that's a preposition. I know with is a preposition. However, leaving is a verb, okay? Now, since that's a verb, it cannot be a part of our prepositional phrase, so that's not going to work for that. However, I do notice that I have for the necessities, and that's a prepositional phrase. He had begged and begged his parents to let him stay home from school. I also see from school. But his parents, Ted and Nancy, continued to tell their son that he had to focus on school. Now I'm going to continue on. The young boy, Marvin, knowing that his parents would never allow him to take a month off of school, so I'm also going to do off of school. That's a prepositional phrase. Decided to wait until summer. Finally, Marvin had waited until the school year had ended. It was a beautiful day in June, so in is a preposition, June is going to be my noun, when Marvin decided to attempt his dream. He was wearing his lucky socks and had just turned on his TV. So on his TV, on is a preposition. So I know that his is a modifier, TV is my noun. An episode of Shark Tank. Same thing, of is a preposition, Shark Tank's my noun. When suddenly the screen went blank and smoke began billowing out of the TV. Finally I have of the TV. So those are all of my prepositional phrases, and hopefully you found them with ease as well. Next we're going to look at our positive phrases. So we're going to go ahead and put our blue one away. We're going to get out our yellow highlighter. And remember, our positive phrases are going to be noted by commas. So you'll see them being contained within commas, and they're going to rename a noun that's coming before it typically. So, in a lonely town, a young boy wanted to become the first person to watch Netflix for a solid month straight without leaving his spot except for the necessities. He had begged and begged his parents to let him stay home from school to begin his challenge, but his parents, Ted and Nancy, oh, I'm already being signaled because I see two commas, and I can see that parents is followed with another set of words which appear to be nouns, Ted and Nancy. So this is renaming the word parents. So I'm going to highlight that yellow. What I want you to do now is go ahead and pause the video and then see if you can find our last appositive. There's only one more. Okay, hopefully we found that last appositive by now. If you look, it's literally in the next sentence. So the young boy, Marvin, that's my appositive. So I'm going to highlight that yellow. So those are the only two I have in this particular passage. So we're going to get our green highlighter out next. We're working with infinitives. In a lonely town, a young boy wanted to become. I know an infinitive is the word to plus a verb. To become, that fits my criteria. And then I need to do anything that is also relating to it. So to become the first person, that's all going to be an infinitive. To watch Netflix. So once again I have a to followed by a verb, and Netflix is my word pertaining to it. Without leaving his spot except for the necessities. And you can almost kind of scan the reading at this point and look for those words to and just double check yourself and make sure it's followed by a verb. So to let him, to let is going to be an infinitive to plus a verb. To let him stay home, that's everything relating to it. To begin his challenge is my other one. Alright, so what I want you to do is go ahead and continue on with this passage and see if you can find the rest of them. Don't forget you're highlighting all the words that pertain to it, but don't go too crazy. Make sure that it's pertaining back and relating to begin, your infinitive there. Okay, so picking up where we left off, we were going through and finding our infinitives. So, as I'm scanning, I can see another infinitive, and hopefully we have this one down. To tell their son. So I'm going to highlight that green. Hopefully we didn't go too crazy on how far we went with that. He had to focus, so to focus on school. Now I also know that on school is one that I must have missed. I didn't get that one. That's going to also be a preposition. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to also highlight that in blue for my prepositional phrase. Okay? Knowing that his parents would never allow him to take a month. That's my other one. And then I see to wait until summer. That's another one. Actually, I missed another one, until summer. Must have been going fast through some of these. Looking for more. That's another prep phrase. Let's see if we have any more twos. Oh, to attempt his dream. So that's another infinitive. Lucky socks. And then to watch is my last one. To watch an episode. Alright, so those are all my infinitives. I have to plus a verb and then any information that relates to it. You're going to go ahead and continue on. You need to watch the second part of the screencast. and I'll get back to you about verb phrases there.